Well, hi, Cindy. Thank
Hey,
you so much
Chris.
for joining me today on what we're calling sort of a conversational thing, a podcast, call it what you will. But the idea is that let's have a conversation about selling to associations, talk about your experience. And the intent is to help the industry for those that are already serving associations and maybe just want some insights, for those that are newcomers and really want to get a feel for what the best way to do this is. And I think we decided what you and I would sort of talk about is the big picture of associations and what that market looks like, and also sharing some tips and tricks and hacks and everything else that you use day to
Mhm.
day in your outreach to associations that you think insightful. Because if you come to the association world thinking it's going to be like the old sales job you had, it's going to probably not go so well. So that's the purpose of
Good,
where we're at today.
good.
Yeah. So thanks for joining. And we'll do an intro of you here in a minute, but I think we should just jump in real quick. Let's just get the conversation going. So, just kind of as I said, give us your impression of where the association market sits right now in buying. We've got the economy, we've got politics, we've got AI. There's a lot of things swirling around.
Mhm.
So you talk to associations all day, every day. Like, what's the state? What's the mindset out there of the market when you talk to them?
So, all of those things you mentioned are definitely factors that can theoretically slow down the process. But the first thing we all have to understand about associations is that it's never a fast process. No matter what solution you're buying, it just is not. And it never has been. I've been doing this a long time. Never has been, never will be. But I think some of those factors really are playing into the slowness of decision making today. I will say that coming out of COVID, there were a lot of projects put on hold because obviously everyone had to pivot from it was right on the cusp of the spring annual meeting season. And so
Mhm.
everyone had to start pivoting from in person meetings to virtual meetings and figuring all that out. And I think it felt like it took some time to recover from that. Obviously, after when things started going back to normal, there was still some hesitancy in buying and budgets took a hit. But having said that, I feel like now I'm feeling like decisions are being made and the budgets are there. People are buying new AMSs. People are buying new technology. There's been a lot of movement among the vendors. And so a lot of companies now are selling different things across the board. So that's where I see things changing. But I do see things getting a little bit better. And I'm hopeful for 2026.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, I'll ask you another question, then we can talk a little bit about your background. But with the experience that you had, I mean, what are some, just if you're thinking about, you're sitting across from someone that's new in the industry and they're like, tell me what you've learned. What's your biggest lessons that you've learned selling to associations in your career?
I think the biggest concept to understand is how important relationships are in building those relationships. And again, I've been doing this for a long time and it doesn't happen overnight. It just happens over a period of years of getting to know people, vendors and association staff, all the same. I think that what you have to understand is it's really important to get out there and get connected and go ahead and attend any events you can. There are fewer than there used to be, but I make it my business to try and attend as many in person networking events as I can. And through some great organizations like ASAE and AWTC and the Association Forum in Chicago has a lot of events and the AWTC Chicago has a lot of events. So those are things I'm connected to. There are more out there, but I think that that's going to be the key because especially it's a tight knit industry, I believe. And I just think that that is one of the things you're going to need to focus on.
Yeah, that's great. And just a little side note here. I talked to somebody thinking about events and ASAE events. I talked to somebody recently at an association who said they went to the ASAE annual event and they saw that there were AI vendors there, and they realized that was something that they sort of need to do. And what they
Mhm.
said was they only talked to vendors that were at ASAE, not that there aren't others out there, and that they didn't pursue or research any other vendors beyond who they saw at that ASAE event. And I thought that was pretty telling. To your point, you gotta go. There's this resurgence now of, like, being in person, like you said, you try to be out there and in front of people, so I think it's just a testament to we can't sit behind our Zoom calls all day.
Right. Absolutely. And the other thing is there's a correlation between the sessions because many of the sessions with AI at these events are really well attended, standing room
Yeah.
only. And so you have both. You have the vendors and you have the sessions. So you're learning about it because at the end of the day, AI is here, but it's our job, I believe, as vendors and salespeople to educate our buyers about how, like, really get to the bottom of what are you looking for this to do for you? And here's how it can work for you. Because I think that we're still in the very early stages and everybody kind of wants it, but they don't exactly know what it's going to look like for their organization.
So well put, so well put. So we talked a little bit about your experience, so, just tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up in this field and, just tell us, like,
Yeah.
you know
Well, it's funny. Nobody goes to college and majors in working with associations, right? So
Perfect.
after college, I moved to Washington, D.C., somehow landed in an association. So I started my career working for two different associations and I was doing membership marketing. Then I moved into more of a nonprofit doing advertising sales and corporate development. And along the way, found myself saying, I'm selling, but I feel like I want to be on the other side of it.
Mhm.
So I have been in this space for over 20 years, mostly selling technology, SaaS solutions, some enterprise software, websites, you name it. I think I probably sold it. But the the recurring theme has been I've stayed within the industry and it has allowed me to further and deepen my relationships with people in the industry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, that's great, and I think we both agree, it's just an incredible industry, the association world. It can be tight-knit, and it can be hard to break in, but it is a welcoming environment, it is such a friendly environment, and I think it's just testament to folks like you and I who have been doing this for over 20 years in this industry, and there's way more other beyond us that could say the same thing. But, for you thinking specifically about the opportunity because it's not about, selling can be has such a connotation to it, and I never,
mhm,
I did a lot of sales too, but I never really looked at it as being a salesperson. It's more like you said, it's about education, it's about enlightening people, and it's about believing in your product and knowing that it's going to provide good to who you're, exchanging money with, who people are investing in you
mhm.
and your product. But what's sort of your favorite part about the industry and in selling to it in your job? I mean, what do you love about it?
Well, I love the opportunities that it's provided me. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I like to be in front of people. I like getting out there and I like going to events. I like working trade shows. I like the networking. I'm a people person and that's a big part of why I do it. It's just
Yeah,
it's fun, it's interesting, and you get to learn a lot about a lot of different industries, right? Because I've sold to all kinds of associations, and you really get to learn a lot along the way. And again, it's about the relationships that I've built. And
yeah,
it's not only with the associations that I have really built good relationships with other vendors and my peers and I'll just be having a conversation with somebody, and I'll pick up on a deal that they just closed,
yeah,
and then I'll go call that organization because I know that they're looking to make some changes. So it's things like that, and also I'll call former coworkers, former colleagues, and say,
mm,
"Listen, I'm trying to get into this organization, and it looks to me like you are connected." through LinkedIn, or I know you've worked with them before. Can you provide an introduction? I mean, that's what I really love about it, because it's not constantly selling. It is selling, but it's also, working through your network and also being able to reciprocate that, because I'm a connector. Just this morning, I connected somebody who's actually looking for a new role. And she said, "Do you know anybody at this organization? This job would be perfect for me." I said, "Yes, I know two people." So that's what it's all about
That's
to
what it's all
me. And
about.
there are many of us that feel the same way.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's important too, because what you're really talking about is the overarching theme here is trust.
Hmm.
It's with other vendors, it's with associations, and for me, I think if you're a newcomer into this, the trickiest part is the amount of time it's going to take you to be known, to
Hmm.
be trusted in the market, to prove yourself. And
Right.
just as a side note, a way to accelerate that is kind of what you're talking about, is partner up with somebody that has the trust of the industry. Build your
Hmm.
trust with a mutual company that might have complementary services or something, because that's an easier through your kindred spirit, right? And they
Right.
want to help you too, but you can piggyback on their trust and kind of get your exposure and build a little more trust that way, as opposed to just feeling like you're on an island and it's you against the other vendors. I just don't feel like, for the most part, I mean, it's a competitive environment, of course, and it should be. That's good for everybody, but it's not personal, right? I mean, there's just personal connections regardless of what your product is, right? Over the years.
Right. And the other thing is lean on your fellow teammates where you are, because again, the reality is a lot of us have been in this business for a long time. Not some working for associations, some selling to associations, but
Yeah.
you never know. Like, you might be competing with your teammates, but at the same time, I've found mostly what I've done is they're always ready to help if they've worked with an association before, but I'm reaching out to somebody that's in my territory, not theirs. They're happy to make introductions or give me some feedback. So
Hmm.
you have to think of it in those terms too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I love that all about it. I mean, you've seen a lot, and you've seen other, whether they were colleagues of yours or other companies in the space. Is there things you see people doing, you're like, "Hey, you probably shouldn't do that." Is there like a top 3 of things you should never do?
Things you should never do. Um,
What are they lacking right now in their approach to sales? You know what I mean? Like, what should people be doing up there?
I will say this: back in the day, you could go out, you were getting out in front of customers more. You were doing demos in person. You were meeting in person. It was all in person, right?
Yeah.
And now it isn't like that. And I would love it if it was, because I feel like you can make better connection being in the same room with somebody, but it's not easy to do. And I try all the time, but people
Yeah.
aren't in offices. And when they are, I feel like teams are in the offices like every Tuesday or Thursday. And that's when they do their team stuff. And they're accustomed now to doing things like this. But having said that, I think and I've kind of said it before, but it's important to find new opportunities to get in front of people. I've seen some
Mhm.
different events in the past year. I've attended, one that I hadn't attended before, and I came away, but it was one of the better networking events I've ever been to. And it's like meeting people I never knew, having conversations that I haven't had before.
Mhm.
And so I think that, what's kind of important to do is to try and get in different rooms, get in front of some different people from time to time too, because that's going to help you, spread your network. But so it's not all about having history with people, but whether you've been around for a long time or you're new to the industry, find some different
Yeah.
events that maybe haven't been tried before, and try some different conversations, and learn about new opportunities.
Yeah, and it just made me think of something, and that was really good, is how do associations like to be approached? Okay, you've done cold calling, you've done warm nurturing, you know what I mean? You've taken a hot lead and run with it. But at the end of
Hmm.
the day, I'm somebody that I'm just not quite sure how to break into this market other than having a booth at ASAE, but I have a list of some association. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's really a combination of things. I'm still sort of old school. I still make a lot of phone calls. I take 2 days a week, maybe 4 hours out of the day, and I just do what I refer to as blitzing, just prospecting calls, just for a solid 4 hours twice a week. Do my research ahead of time, be ready to go. And then I follow up with an email. Again, nothing novel, but that has worked for me.
yeah,
And I think with some of the tools in the marketplace, be it Gong or Sales Loft, that is like something new I've adopted to make sure that I'm staying in touch with people at a regular cadence. But yeah, I mean, it is just starting those relationships at events and reaching out and just kind of staying in touch and not always selling, just like,
yes,
keep really good notes. Like often I'll be at a show and I'll be like writing little notes in my phone. And I'll go
yeah,
back to those after the show because that's where I write my little antidotes. Like, oh, he mentioned, his daughter just started college this year too. And this, or whatever
yeah,
it happens to be, just so you can have that personal connection when you do reach out. And I mean, that's just one thing. You just kind of have to be able to provide value. Like, even if, send them something that's in your bag of tricks that, you're not always selling, just deliver something of value to someone.
mhm, yeah. That's great. And I think the reality too is, and this isn't always applying in the B2B world, but associations have budgets and they live by those budgets. And when
Hmm.
they know and they're budgeting for the new software or the new product or project or whatever it might be. So if you're over $5,000 and that's your offering, you're probably going to need to work your way into somebody's
Hmm.
budget, right? So I think that's kind of the takeaway I'm taking from what you're saying is you're not going to get someone on the phone and sell them a new association management software system on that call. That's just not how it works.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, so just talk about that a little bit. I mean, like, what's a measure of like educational versus just like, hey, I'm here? Because isn't it just about being top of mind for when they're ready to make the decision? They
It
know
is.
you, they trust you, they have confidence in you. I mean, that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, it is for sure. But what kind of resonated with me is like that is why one reason why the sales process can be so long, because sometimes you're spending a year educating, and they're spending a year doing their due diligence as well. They don't know if a new AMS is going to be $50,000 or $500,000
Yeah.
sometimes. So it's that's kind of where the process is long. They want to go out and find out what they can find out, maybe decide we should get a selection consultant in on this project, or they decide that they don't want a selection or that they're going to write their own RFP. You just want to make sure that you're having those conversations. So when it is time to send out an RFP, that you're the first on the list. You're the first person that they think of.
That's awesome.
And then again, that's just the beginning because after that,
Yeah.
but going back to what you said about budgets, you always have to, it's one of the first things I try to understand with a new opportunity. Uh, Have you like slated the budget for 2026 that you have the money for a new AMS or a new LMS or whatever it happens to be? Is that something that has been decided, that the board agrees with that, and that that isn't an initiative that's pretty much set in stone? And what are you looking about in terms of a budget for that?
Kicking tires versus pretty serious about making it happen. That's a
Hmm.
huge qualifier as to
Hmm.
how you pursue it moving forward, right?
Right.
Yeah, I love all that. If you, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, I guess, but if somebody said, I really want to break into this market and I don't know how to, like, what would the first three things you would say for them to do? I mean, it sounds like we know for sure maybe join ASAE and go to an event, right? Show up at some of these events. But do they buy a list? You know, you can buy 3,000 association contact names and start emailing them en masse. I mean, what do ABM kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Like what's an
Yeah, I mean, I frown upon the list
yeah,
process. I mean, I've again, I've been building my own sort of list for a long time, but
yeah,
before you even do that, I think what's important to do is understand the marketplace a little bit. And if, just say you're just starting out and you're looking to sell event software, try to make some connections in that part of the business, right? Try to, reach out, just see if you can just pick somebody's brain about whether it's a rep
mm,
there or, I'm saying you just try to get yourself immersed in that particular area and talk to people. Many of us in the business know Reggie Henry. He's a good
yeah,
person to talk to. Like if you want to sell a product or you're considering applying for a job, selling a specific solution to an association, you might want to ask Reggie Henry or ask one of the selection consultants.
hmm
That's what I've done in the past, just because you want to make sure that you just want an idea of where the people who are in this inside and out every day and have been, see
yeah,
what they think.
yeah. Especially now, everything is in such a flux for so many reasons. Like what
Yeah,
worked 2 years ago isn't probably going to work today in a lot of ways.
right.
Well, and you talked about the selection consultant, and I think just that's a key, to something to be unlocked. I mean, what does it take? Because there's some consultants that can bring you some real legitimate business. If you're a web design agency, if you are
Hmm.
trying to break into the AMS market, now there's so many products that I don't, there's ones I haven't even heard of yet.
Right, right,
But they're not gonna bring 20 people to their client if they're a selection consultant,
right.
what's the criteria? I mean, talk through, like, when you get that RFP from a selection consultant, why did you get it?
Well, you get it because you've spent time building a relationship with them as well, right? So, and that consists of, I mean, I would just make sure that you're getting in front of the selection consultant and the team, however many as you can. You want anybody and everybody on that team to understand your product, understand what differentiates you from the competition, because they're going to be out there, they're talking and listening because they're trying to sell their services and they're trying to do just what you're doing, but on a different level.
Yeah,
But they need to understand your product, how it differentiates itself, what really is what makes you better than everybody else out there in the marketplace.
yeah, and that again goes back to trust because their clients are expecting them to bring the best of the best to them, and for a
Absolutely.
selection consultant to give you a shot, it's what they're doing, and
Right.
and and it's something that, you have to make sure you deliver on that.
Hmm.
I want to ask you one other question, and then I want to wrap up by asking you about what you think the future holds. But just you talked about it researching before you reach out. I just think that's so critical, and it's actually a differentiator when you're selling. I think. I mean, you and I will learn every possible thing we can before we reach out to somebody.
Hmm.
But I know everyone doesn't do that. They just don't want to. They don't want to burn that time. They're thinking more quantity over quality.
Yeah.
So what kinds of, I mean, you don't have to give away every secret, but how do you research an association? I mean, what does that really mean?
I go right to the source. I go to their website. Most associations will have a staff directory. Look on LinkedIn. That's another way to find those people. I mean, those are like the two kind of no brainers.
Mm,
And then dig a little deeper, find out what the revenue is. If I get a list or if I'm in my Excel spreadsheet, I just slice it and dice it. If I'm looking for,
yeah.
associations broken down by revenue, like 10 million to 50 million, I go for those. And then I kind of, for me, I'd say I'm going to look for the ones in my backyard because I like to call locally or the ones that
um,
where I know people. So, I mean, it's a lot of legwork, but that first and foremost, I mean, some people use Zoom Info, and I have used that.
Mm-hmm.
I find that it can be good, but again, some of that data is old as well.
Yeah,
So
it's
again,
tricky, but it's a reference point.
great. But also getting on the website, you can see what programs they're using. You can see what, are they heavy on education? Are they heavy on conferences? Do they do certifications? Like depending on what you're selling, and not just a quick look, but really kind of like dig deeper and go through a lot of things. You might find an annual report there.
Yeah,
That gives you an idea of what
huge.
their long-term requirements are going to be and long-term goals are.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
a
that's
start.
it is. It's a great one too, and I always found too, be as extensive as you can, but also don't waste the opportunity that you did the research. That's how I look at it. In other words, hey, I was looking at your website and I saw this. It looks like a lot of your revenue comes from your 4 events every year. People want to know that you spent a little extra effort. I always feel like, what if they just say to me, explain our organization to me? That's what I would ask any salesperson that
Hmm.
wanted to approach me for a large ticket item. Tell me what we do. And
Yep.
I bet there's people out there that might hem and haw on that one. And so
Right.
that's always top of mind. I don't know if that's one for you too, but
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to know what the organization is all about.
and be able to explain it. Because some of these associations, I read the about page and I'm like, what? Wait, what do you do? Like, it's not that the words aren't clear. It's like I have to use my brain to wrap around, like, this is very interesting. You do certifications for this, but you have this foundation over here and it does this. And like sometimes it can be complex. And I think they want to know that you get their business.
right. And you have to think of it in terms of that association exists to serve their members. And that's really the key. Like why are they here? What are the members getting at? Why do the members want to spend money? Because that's what a lot of these organizations, obviously, like the members join, they pay a fee, but they're also looking for that non-dues revenue. And that is kind of the nuance. And that's where you have to kind of, really understand why this is of value to the member.
Yeah.
And so they keep coming back and they go to your conferences and they buy your content.
Yep. Yeah. And what you just said also made me think of something else. And again, I'm just thinking about people that don't understand the nuance of associations, right? Here's one for me is you're looking at the association as your future client. Okay, and that's fine. And you're going to serve their needs. What they're doing is serving their members. What you're really doing is number one, the person that you're talking to at the organization, it's your job to make them look good to the people in the organization. And then if you
Right.
can double on top of that and figure out a way that this association looks good or provides services to their members and talk about that extended piece of it, your
Right.
members will get this from that. Not
Right.
just you're my potential client, I'm going to talk about you. No, talk about the members too, wouldn't you say?
Right. And the other thing is, just like there's competitors in what we all do, there are competing associations as well. So maybe someone can only have one membership. Maybe their company will only allow for one professional membership. There are options everywhere. So you want to make sure that you're providing a good, solid experience for your members. And that as a seller, you need to make sure that you're addressing that as well.
Okay, Cindy. So as we wrap up today, and thank you so much. I mean, these insights are just awesome. I mean, I just hope people hear this and just feel like, wow, I'm so glad I knew that. And I probably wish I knew it 3 years ago, kind of a thing. So thank you so much for that. But, in closing, is there something you want to sort of end with and just like, hey, this is the one thing?
I think that the most successful sales professionals in this market, yes, you have to know how to sell. You have to know your product. You have to know how to drive revenue. You have to know how to manage a sales cycle, all of that typical sales stuff. In my opinion, you have to genuinely care about what you're doing and the associations that you are working with. And genuine is you're not just faking it, but you really genuinely believe. And I know it's not possible to do it all the time, but take an interest. Let them know that you are knowledgeable, just like we talked about a moment ago. Just let them know you understand why they're there and what their members need and want from them. And I think that you'll do well.
Perfect. That's a great ending. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I enjoyed it.